world surrounded by franchises, reboots, and shared universes. An elite team of podcasters will risk body and soul to investigate the depths of intellectual properties, one multiverse, subgenre, and trend at a time. Who are we? We're the IP Squad.
Welcome back to the IP Squad and our ongoing investigation into films based on video games. I'm John Campbell. Joining me once again, he's always perpetually 2 days away from retirement. It's Mike Gorgone.
Yeah, look, my daughter's about to get married and I've got my pension all lined up and I think just make it through the end of this week. Life's going to be okay.
I hope a horrible serial killer doesn't attack the city or anything.
That serial killer's name is Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sonic the Hedgehog, yes. We're back to the Sonic franchise, which I would say, is this, I was thinking about this, this is the most successful ongoing video game adaptation. Now, we just had the huge hit of Minecraft. Super Mario Brothers made a lot of money, but in terms of this is the first one that has been able to consistently generate successful movies.
Yes. And
as of this
you're bringing me in on Sonic 2, the movie that dared ask, I guess this is a thing? ?
Well, and I will say numbers have shown, and we'll talk about this, these have increased in box office revenue, and I will say it's even worn down critics at a certain point. Where it's like, I guess these movies are pretty fun. Like, there were so many more so on the third one, but it does feel like with each one, they're like, I don't know, maybe they're kind of good. I don't know. Like, I don't know anymore.
What if a franchise could just really make critics succumb to, I guess, energy?
And I mean, the thing about these is, my hot take on the whole franchise is, they're pretty good.
Yeah, you're bringing me in here on Sonic number 2. I wasn't around for Sonic number 1.
My sister, Kinsey, did Sonic number 1. Michael Listman will be doing Sonic number 3. I have a different person for each Sonic movie.
And I'm here for the deuce. And I'm here to say these movies are kind of like fitting into that mold of just like, I guess video game adaptations can be fun. We can have fun, right?
These are, that's it exactly. The thing I was thinking about these is, these are, to me, really good kids' movies. These are really written for kids in a way.
100%.
But these are the kind of things I like where it's like, that doesn't mean it has to be bad. I think oftentimes when people get into the brain of, I'm making a kids' movie, means they get a little lazy. And that's not what these are. These are made very earnestly by people who respect the source material and want to entertain.
Okay.
What?
Okay, we're in our video game season.
The video game
season.
We're
talking video games, adapting video games, and you and I have had the most conversation about these video game adaptations. I stand tall upon the proud rock that is video game adaptations. Co-investigator par excellence.
You are our chief investigator this season. Yeah,
sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a certain amount of this season that has been like, well, I guess if you're adapting this is what you can scrape up as part of that adaptation. I think Rampage is an amazing example of that. Yeah. Where it's like, okay, there's not a ton on paper for a Rampage movie. And Mario's the same way. I think Sonic fits into that as well. Whereas what you have to adapt is Blue Hedgehog Go Fast.
Yeah, I suppose when I say maybe let's say it's they're respectful of the characters in that These are characters mostly defined by their aesthetics and personalities.
Sure, but even those personalities are more defined by certain animation quirks
Yeah.
in video games or what people remember from cartoons from the 90s.
No, I mean that's true. I mean the other thing I think that's interesting about Sonic is how successful it's been in things that aren't video games. Like,
Sure.
and the idea that each one of those carries with it its own vibe. The 90s cartoon show had a certain vibe. The 90s comics had a certain vibe. The modern movies have a certain vibe. The modern comics have a certain vibe. There's with it, there's this sort of, everybody's doing their own take on Sonic because the material is so limited, I guess. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way, but I mean they are games based on the gameplay more so than, like, I'm super invested in the narrative of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sure, and Sonic is especially one of those video game franchises that the good games shine out of a sea of subpar, if not bad, games.
Mm-hmm.
Sonic is replete with games that are just like, they're trying to capture that old Sega Genesis feel of like go fast platforming action that the game Sonic and Knuckles sort of typified, for me at least.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know what your history with the Sonic games
Oh,
are.
I mean, I talked about this in the first one. I was a Sonic devotee because I was a Sega kid. In a world of Nintendo kids, I was the Sega kid, so Sonic was my man.
Right, and I was decidedly more of a Nintendo kid, and then just hard shifted into being a little Sony scumbag as soon as the PS1 rolled around. I was a Twisted Metal for life. Crash Bandicoot is the real rad dude.
I played some Crash Bandicoot in my day too, but yeah, Sonic was our. That's why I had my sister on the first episode of this, because we, lost entire summers to Sonic games.
Sure, and my personal experience with Sonic games are mostly playing it on Sega at other people's houses.
Right.
Or lest we forget, you could in fact rent consoles from Blockbuster Video back in the day.
Yeah. That's
so there were some sweet weekends where Mike Gorgone got to plug that Sega Genesis that he did not own into his television.
That is just crazy to think about now, right? Like, that seems nuts. Yeah. There were things in, I mean, you remember this growing up in where we did, back when the grocery store had movies and video games to rent.
Oh, I distinctly remember that the Albertsons not far from where I lived had this whole little like back room right next to the customer service area that was like, had its own little screen door that you had to get through that was video and video game. Yeah,
those were the days, man, because I would always like, I want to go with my mom to the store because maybe I could sneak in there and rent a movie or a game or something and be like, oh man, those were the days, kids. We're very old.
But all that is to say that, like, Sonic, to me, and these movies are trying to capture a vibe more than they are actually dealing with whatever it is you want to define as like Sonic lore, because what that is so vague if you're just talking about video game adaptations. Obviously, if you're going from like even the animated series or especially the comic books, those go deep on like exactly what's been happening in Sonic the Hedgehog's life and myriad backstories.
Oh man, I mean I think I've mentioned this. I probably mentioned this in the last episode too. I really like the current IDW Sonic comic. I think it's very good. It's extremely different than these movies. But I think it's like shockingly good. The quality of it. I'm always like, wow. You could, like you said, it goes deep where you're like, wow, like I'm very invested in Sonic's journey.
What's going to happen with his robot dad?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And I think the thing about these movies, one thing I think when you talk about capturing the vibe, I think one of the things I like about these movies is, these almost feel like movies that would have been made in the mid 90s just now with modern technology to make them. You couldn't have made these look like this then, but they function like a lot of 90s kids movies that I loved.
Well, that's 100% on the shoulders of Jim Carrey, right?
Well, having having a 90s icon as, your villain and really main human character. I mean, if you're talking about screen time, he's, in it way more than anyone else who's not named Sonic, Knuckles, or Tails.
Well, especially here in Sonic 2, when the main cast here is our animated characters and Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Sorry, James Marsden, but like you've got your own little subplot, but that's not what people are coming to these movies for.
No, and he actually, if you look, somebody tracked, he has less screen time in each movie, Marsden. I think you still need him. He's a grounding presence for sure. But yeah, it is definitely people come.
Needs a strong word.
I think Marsden is key to these movies.
Key's a strong word.
I think we come to love Sonic through James Marsden loving Sonic. I think that is important to these movies.
I don't think you're wrong. I just think that and especially rewatching this movie, the whole wedding subplot is so contrived.
But I do laugh when that minister had a gun in his Bible.
Sure, there are good gags. I'm not denying there are some good gags.
Yeah.
What's her name's character? Natasha Rothwell's character,
Oh,
Rachel,
the sisters who just hates James Marsden.
Like, we love a rampaging bridezilla walking away from an explosion. That's a good image and gag.
The scene of her driving the golf cart with rage at the oh dear God.
Yeah. And like
is funny.
Her whole marriage being an undercover op by the organization known as Gun.
Yeah. I do like when they're like GUN. The guy's just like, that's right, gun. What? Like that guy's also very funny. I think the guy who plays the general, he's very funny in the first movie, and he's very funny here with just his like, that's right. When the first movie where he's talking about Olive Garden.
Tom Butler is Commander Walters.
Because he's doing that funny thing where he is saying silly stuff, but just in like, I'm a general. I mean, it's the same thing about Olive Garden. Have you tried the Never Ending Pasta Bowl? It never ends,
He's the general character from The Simpsons, like made live action.
Very much so, yeah. He's a funny. I mean, like the thing about because Adam Pally comes into this movie and scores a couple of laughs. It's that they are more like these things to go. These. We're following Sonic and his friends, and then they're sort of bouncing off these other people, except for Jim Carrey, who is. I mean, the thing that works about Jim Carrey is, though he's a live-action human, he is a living cartoon character and always has been, right?
My rewatch of this movie made me settle on a view of these films that like really cement what they are to me.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about a thing that means a lot to both of us, and that is Muppet movies.
Oh my God, yeah.
Muppet movies traditionally feature a predominantly Muppet cast, and it is the human characters that create a contrast to the wackiness that the Muppets instill in the real world, right?
Yes.
The Sonic the Hedgehog movies are the opposite of that. Almost all of the animated characters are these like grounded, emotionally resonant, like these are the characters that you have to follow and fall in love with, and the wackiness comes from the one human character who is a human Muppet.
Yes, that is. I think that's very true. And I think the thing about that is what's interesting is you see the makers of these movies. And I think one of the interesting things about this franchise is consistently you have the same writer and same two writers and director across all three of these
Jeff Fowler
movies.
Directing and
Pat Casey and what's his writing partner? Josh Miller. Yeah. They wrote all
of it. Pat Casey, John Miller have the story and screenplay credits, and then John Whittington gets also a screenplay credit on this.
Yeah. And it looks like he works on he came in on this one and then also works with them on 3. And he ends up doing the Knuckles TV show.
Did you ever watch that?
I did. It's pretty fun.
I thought it was fine.
Yeah, I thought it was
it's Adam Pally and Knuckles.
I think one of the things that was successful about it as an additive thing, it really does feel like a piece, in conversation with these movies.
Yeah.
They managed to capture that. Oh, it's totally fine. And I think, to me, one of the reasons I really like this one and the third one so much is Idris Elba. This is not I mean, maybe it's a paycheck gig, but he's in. It's a real deal performance.
I've been replaying Cyberpunk 2077 recently.
Yeah.
And the expansion for that game, Phantom Liberty,
Yes,
features Idris Elba a lot in a role that is like very Idris Elba coded as like sad, broken spy character.
Yeah. You got that right.
who is wrestling with his past decisions and trying to make a brighter future. Like it's classic Idris stuff.
Oh, but, yeah, man. He can do that in his sleep.
So, but that in contrast to Knuckles as a character is one of the funniest side-by-sides I've had for a single actor in a while.
Yeah.
It's like, watch Luther and then watch Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
But I mean, I'm looking through the trivia. There's a lot of stuff about where he talks about like, well, the thing is, he doesn't come from English is a second language, so I made it that he doesn't fully say things correctly, and you do like he sort of is stilted in the way he's looking for the. You're like, God, you really fucking thought about this, which I know is like, but I mean, like, you think about like, oh, they got like a big movie star to come in and do the voice of Knuckles, be like, oh, this guy took it seriously.
Meanwhile, fucking Ben Schwartz just using... I mean, look, Ben Schwartz is incredibly comedic. I love him in all of the improv stuff that he does.
Yeah, I mean, he's
obviously...
You know, maybe the greatest improviser. He's like in discussion for the greatest improviser alive.
That's a broad field, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's like one of the icons of modern improv for sure.
Right. And bringing that to something that does not have his actual face on it. Obviously, I'm sure there are animation challenges that this movie has to run into when you have Ben Schwartz as a guy who changes his performance will inherently change how Sonic's mouth has to be animated. So I would be curious to know what the process is.
My guess, I mean, I know that I don't know exactly how they do it on this, but usually you start with the voice, right? So you would, I'm sure they film him and then maybe animate to him. You know, so I'm sure there's a lot of, I think that, and you can kind of feel that in this. And I think particularly in this one where now it's like firmly has more ownership of the character. And I think in 2 and 3. And so you do see Ben Schwartz elements find their way into Sonic.
Sure. Yeah. I definitely noticed that in this.
The fact that he does
making more work for animators with improvised lines just amuses.
Because he's improvising in the studio, and then from everything I've heard, Jim Carrey is improvising quite a bit when they're filming. So you're talking, but they're not working together. So you've got 2 different guys improvising off of the same material.
But whether or not their improvisational feats line up with each other, I am sure created some issues in the production of this film.
Yeah, I mean, I have to imagine that by 2, 3, they figure this out, and then 3 adds a whole other thing that when I get to that, we'll talk about, which is 2 Jim Carreys. But you know, I think but Jeff Fowler has talked about you kind of don't really direct Jim Carrey, you kind of just wind him up and let him go.
I mean, it tracks. And the first Sonic movie, and I'm sure you and Kinsey talked about this last week, but like, Jim Carrey is the shot in the arm of like, okay, it starts as this like weird kid in another world, but in reverse 90s kids movie, and then Jim Carrey shows up and blows the hinges off of that film.
Absolutely.
And this movie starts with Jim Carrey on page 1, and so like we have that energy. There's no like easing into the Jim Carreyness in Sonic 2.
No,
it is right off the bat. We start with him with a Rube Goldberg machine making mushroom coffee,
which is great. And then then it is just a thing when you talk about winding it. When Fowler talks about winding him up and letting him go, just the him being disgusted by all the cups of mushroom coffee is just like
how many takes of that did they do?
Yeah, and you know Jim's gonna give you 75 different versions of spit takes, and you see 5 or 6 of them in the movie, and they are all radically different. There's one where he spits it out all at once. There's one where he does more of a like it's still going.
It's or just it dribbles a little bit, or if it's all in a glob, or
I mean, talk about like one of one, you break the mold with a Jim Carrey. There's other people have tried, but nobody can capture that manic energy because he's not forcing that. That's just how he performs. It's effortless. He moves unlike anyone else. He's lost none of. I mean, the guy's in his 60s now, and he's still, the agility of him, the way his body just can be thrown around is unbelievable. And these movies remind you, like, oh right, there was a reason that like I was a massive Jim Carrey fan in the 90s.
Well, and I think he is a big part of the stew that creates the success of these films.
100%.
Because look, I don't think anyone, and I know that there are very, very opinionated Sonic the Hedgehog fans.
We maybe did an episode a few years ago that is, if you're one of our patrons, you want to go back in our archives, you can hear one of those opinionated Sonic fans.
Sure.
I'll leave it at that.
I maybe I'm just speaking broadly here, but I'm going to speak broadly on, like, I don't think a lot of people are too precious with the Sonic the Hedgehog as a franchise.
I don't think
it is not some beloved icon that like you can sully to the masses. So putting Jim Carrey in this is such a big inclusion into selling this to a broader population.
I think Sonic is a thing that most people know, but beyond like, oh yeah, the little hedgehog in the video games. You know what I mean?
And
like,
he runs fast. Maybe that's the limit.
Yeah, he's got red sneakers. Like I think it's a thing. He's kind of got like a Mickey Mouse sort of thing, or even a Mario to a certain extent. I think is that for a lot of people too, where they're like, oh yeah, Mario, he's like a plumber. And he's
I don't even know if Mario equals plumber is as widely known.
He's in the overalls and he's got a little hat. You know, but these characters they are the like Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny of video games, where everybody knows them. They know they are video game characters. Could they tell you anything about them? Maybe everybody has played a game, or like how many people have played Mario Kart, you know, or something like that, where you're just like, you don't have to know anything about those characters per se.
I think that Mario guy had a party once.
Yeah. He's very good at tennis, too. And did I hear this? Did he get a doctorate? Is he practicing medicine?
Well, look, I think it's an honorary doctorate at best, and the pills just come automatically.
Yeah, all I know, though, is he did seem to be performing surgery, so we need to look into that.
Okay. I think he was at a soccer game at the time, and we can talk about Mario Strikers date.
Anyway, yeah, so I do think that is the thing. But I think one of the things, the thing I was going to say earlier about this, as these sequels go along, the first movie is very much Sonic and James Marsden versus Jim Carrey. I think that as these movies go along, they are, number one, they have more money because it's a proven franchise. And number two, they now know the audience is invested in this Sonic. So you can spend more of the movie with him. And each of these movies, and especially as they add more characters, become more and more, we're primarily dealing with the CG characters because the audience is now endeared enough to them that like, oh, they can carry the movie. The first movie is really a test. Like, hey, can this be a thing? Is there interest in this? We better put other movie stars. We better make sure, you know. But now it is like, oh no, people love these characters. Kids love these characters. They sell a shit ton of toys. And make sure you get a new character in each of them so we can sell that character's toy. And this one brings in 2 new CGI characters.
I mean, look, and the good thing about the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, say what you will, it's got characters to spare.
4 days.
We haven't even gotten to Big the Cat yet.
No. But this one, this one brings in Knuckles and Tails. Well, the first movie, in the post-credit scene, teased the entrance of Tails. Because, of course, that's like the Robin to your Batman, right?
Yeah, 100%. And Knuckles is the, like, rival anti. It's the Vegeta to his Goku. Yeah,
I mean, and that's the fun of this movie, right? Is you've got this character who is just like, this isn't funny. I'm taking this seriously.
This is a deadly serious quest.
Yeah, it is. And then he goes, I mean, obviously it was popular enough that they're like, let's make a whole show about this guy.
Sure, because he's definitely channeling some of that Drax energy from Guardians of the
Yeah.
Galaxy of like a serious guy on a serious quest who is kind of a weirdo, and everyone looks at it like, is this guy serious?
The character is funny because he's so not funny. He's so
Right,
serious that
exactly.
it's silly. And when you hire an Idris Elba who just has an inherent gravitas, even just in his voice, that really works.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But then on the other side, they use the voice actors from the games as Tails.
I was going to say, Colleen O'Shaughnessy is sort of the strange outlier here. Don't be wrong. I love her as Tails.
Of course. She
She's
is
voiced Tails for many, many
Yeah.
years. But bringing in the person who played the character in the video games as opposed to a recognizable actor's voice
Mhm.
is just a very interesting decision, considering you have Ben Schwartz, who's sort of creating his own version of Sonic here, though he's riffing on a lot of Jaleel White stuff here.
And having read Jaleel White's autobiography, Growing Up Urkel, because no one's surprised that I did, he was, I believe, and still is a little miffed that he was not asked or considered for this. For these
I'm
movies.
a little miffed myself, personally, as a Jaleel White defender.
I mean, I love a Jaleel White.
I don't think he needs a defending, but like everyone, he went through his own troubles during the Urkelisms of his stuff. But I don't think Sonic
stand
is part of the
by,
problem.
but I do stand by it. Say what you will about the writing of that show. His commitment to playing that character is something. He's a talented
Sure.
guy who got pigeonholed into something. And I'm glad to see him show up in something like a Skeleton Crew and be like, oh, he's great when he was on Psych. It's like, oh no, that guy's a real deal actor. Urkel was actually such a good performance that people were like, oh, that's all he does.
And yeah, would I have liked to have seen him come back as Sonic and like return to the glory? Perhaps.
Yeah.
Like Ben Schwartz does a great job. I don't know what Jaleel White's up to these days, so maybe he was just looking for work.
I think there's an interesting thing about it, right? I think the Colleen O'Shaughnessy of it all is interesting because she is the Tails across all this stuff. Whereas I think with the Ben Schwartz, I do sort of go, I kind of like that. If it was Jaleel White, that would have been great. But by having it now 3 movies of Ben Schwartz, you're like, oh, that's Ben Schwartz's Sonic. Movie Sonic is Ben Schwartz. Animated Sonic is Jaleel White. It's that thing I'm talking about, like with the comics. It's interesting, and I've been trying to find anything that indicates why they used her beyond just like, well, of course. I mean, they used her at the end of the first movie, which makes sense because I think they were just like, oh, this is just a quick Tails cameo. Just get
but
the
Tails
woman
has one line.
yeah, and then they just continued it here, and I don't know. There's just it is, and especially because when we talk, movie 3 eventually. You bring in an even bigger movie star to be Shadow. Although casting that is so fucking good. It's such a great choice.
We live in the shadow of Keanu Reeves at all times.
Well, and then I did
Cyberpunk 2077, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Wake up, samurai. We got a city to...
Well, the thing about that too is that casting's so good that I saw a commercial for one of the new Sonic games that like featuring Keanu Reeves as the voice of Shadow. So it's like, oh, now the games are even using him.
Good for him.
Well, he also is a guy though, like the Cyberpunk thing, where you almost make the sense. He goes, "Can I do one of the games?" I'd like to do that. I'll make the time.
Because, he's in Sonic X Shadow Generations, was the game that came out last year.
Yeah.
That was...
I think I saw a commercial for it at the theater scene Sonic 3,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, is he... Because, let's see. Kirk Thornton plays Shadow in a lot of stuff as well, but he was also in this game, so I don't know. Maybe there was, like, multiple Shadows in this game. I never... Like, again... The Sonic games are so hit and miss.
I haven't played a Sonic game in 20 years, probably.
Yeah, the Sonic Generations games, from what I understand of like reviews and stuff, are some of the better modern Sonic games. But it is one of those things where it's like, I was never huge on Sonic as a kid, so I don't feel the impulse to seek out newer Sonic games. as opposed to like Mario or your Crash Bandicoots.
Well, and I would say in general, from my, I'm not as embedded in the gaming culture as you are, but just from the outset of like reading reviews and reactions, people, if I heard there was a great Sonic game, I would pick it up. But I feel like at best people are like, oh, well, these are okay to like avoid at all costs.
Yeah. And look, it's just also very strange that Sonic has kind of by default also sort of become a Nintendo franchise.
Yeah, that's true. Which is weird because it was always the competing thing.
Well, until Sega just stopped existing as a console.
Well, that's what's so crazy about when every time I watch these movies, when that Sega logo comes up, you're like, yeah, Sega Studios? Just like, I always want to go like, do you guys just exist to make these movies? I know there's been talk about like a Streets of Rage movie or a Golden Axe movie. I don't see these existing, or even if they do, anywhere coming close to the success of the Sonic movies. Yeah, I can't see people flocking to see Golden Axe. I mean, I would go see it, but that's neither here nor there. And like, what, a Streets of Rage movie? Isn't that just the Warriors?
I mean, and tell me you wouldn't go see that, John.
Mm-hmm. Look,
what if a movie dared to just have their protagonist move to the right of the screen and punch people?
That would be amazing if they really committed to capturing the gameplay of that. It's all one static shot where the camera's just on the dolly that occasionally moves forward with the guy as people come at him.
I mean,
and he hits them with like a crowbar.
Me a movie that's just like The Raid, but going down a street in like a dirty 70s New York.
You're actually kind of pitching something awesome that would be, it's just like the movie is just about getting from one end of the city to the other, and it's basically like a 90-minute fight sequence. Would be kind of rad.
But it has to go from left to right.
Yeah. We only see the characters in profile.
I would watch the shit out of that movie.
I mean,
again, keep it under 90 minutes. Gotta keep just like
I don't know if that would be like that. People go like, I mean, I don't know if it's good, but my God, this is an experiment. What an experimental film that would be. Would it gain like an art following? I can't believe somebody had the guts to do this.
Just give me Monkey Man Dev Patel fighting his way across 70s New York.
By the way, you just nailed who if tomorrow it came out the Dev Patel's directing and starring in the Streets of Rage movie, take my money. Take my money. He is actually making a new movie and I'm psyched about it. He's doing a medieval action movie, which is like, that's rad. Yeah, good. That guy. Because I came out of Monkey Man going like, I will see anything Dev Patel directs after that. I loved it so much.
That movie ruled.
It's incredible. It's such a good. It's like, and anytime I see an interview with that guy, I'm just like, man, I didn't know you were a guy just like me who's talking about, the Raid is a huge influence on me. An old boy. And just like, yeah, man, you get it. Dev Patel knows what's up. Anyway, he's not involved in this movie.
I wish he was.
Look, that guy.
He could play Big the Cat.
Hey, why not? That's not where they're going yet, but
I know. Amy Rose is next, but
yep. And Metal Sonic?
Metal Sonic, and we got to get Rouge the Bat in there at some point.
Yeah, I mean, there's the thing about it. They know there's like 8 movies they could make here. I mean, they're ready to go. Yeah. It's a weirdly stacked cast of characters in the Sonic universe. The big thing in this movie, of course, is the battle for the Chaos Emerald.
We introduced the Chaos Emeralds, which is, of course, the MacGuffin of the Sonic.
Mm-hmm. Because the first one was just about the control of the rings and sort of just Sonic's powers in general. Like, just the appeal of, like, ooh, that guy could, that having the control of that could be used as a weapon. I mean, obviously, it's always sort of the thing about the military wants, whatever the alien creature is.
Sure, yeah.
Like, the first movie, the thing about watching the second one is it's so much bigger, and you realize, like, they were really smart about. I was comparing this to somebody the other day. It's kind of like the Thor movies, where like the first Sonic is kind of like the first Thor movie, right? Where it really is like fish out of water. it hints at a lot of the bigger stuff, but it is sort of like letting the audience just dip their toe in it before we start getting crazier and crazier with the lore stuff as it goes on and the insanity of the logic of it. I mean, by this movie, when you have a gigantic, Robotnik at the end.
Well, and this movie also establishes some of the deep canon stuff of just like, and once upon a time, the echidnas fought the owls over control of the Master Emerald that can harness the power of thought to make reality what you will.
Something that really struck me on this viewing that I think, once again, speaking to the idea of this being a kid's movie, but not in like a negative sense, is these movies do a good job of having just enough stakes. Like, life and death is on the table. You know it's not going to really roll over anything too bad happening, but it does enough to build up like, okay, I do believe Robotnik is trying to murder that hedgehog. And that allows me to take it to... That allows me to invest enough to take it seriously enough that I don't feel like, oh, nothing's happening. But it's never, nothing too bad is going to happen. But there's just enough to give me some level of thrill as an adult watching.
The word that typifies the sort of feeling you want in a kids movie with stakes is peril, right?
Yes.
You want it to feel perilous, but not dangerous necessarily.
Yeah. Because, like, I think as an 8-year-old, this would be like a real thrilling roller coaster ride of a movie.
Totally. I felt the same way with something like Skeleton Crew.
Yes.
Mentioned a little while ago. But,
I mean, it was the kind of thing that the Amblin movies of the 80s that I'm always talking about just nailed. Goonies, they were in danger. Some part of you knew the Goonies were going to make it out okay. But there was just enough there to be like, okay, these villains are a threat and do intend harm,
Right. Again, it's the same feeling that a roller coaster is trying to inspire in your body, insofar as like you are getting pulled along at a very high pace and there are acts happening around you that like, ooh, if something went wrong on this high wire act, people could get hurt. But I'm trusting and like putting my faith in the thing around me that is pulling me through the thrilling, perilous part, whether it be the loop-de-loop or the giant Robotnik smashing its way through Green Hills.
Right, and you're like, okay, yeah, like he's smashing stuff, but you're like, yeah, there's no people in that building, and that's okay. But like, there's still enough to be like, oh, but like, chaos is happening, and it seems dangerous, and like I said. And what that does to me as an adult audience member is it allows me to engage, because sometimes when you watch, again, quote-unquote kids things, I get bored because I'm just like, oh my God, there's just no weight to this at all.
Well, because they're creating they're trying to instill this sense of peril without actually making the characters involved feel imperiled, I guess. I don't want to say threatened, because threatened is maybe the wrong word.
Right, but yet, like I said, like Robotnik is just threatening enough.
Yeah.
That he's not, that like, oh yeah, he is shooting munitions at our main character. They're all sort of obfuscated through that sort of Looney Tune sense of, well, if it's a crazy robot shooting sort of a more cartoony missile, okay, that is a weapon that is ammunition being shot at something. But you don't really feel like, he's trying to gun down Sonic, even though he is.
What helps is, because this is a PG movie, we never see, like, blood coming out of Sonic the Hedgehog's nose. Or, like, we never see James Marsden with flesh wounds.
No, in fact, the next movie gets as close to like doing some damage to a main character as any of them do, which I'll save for that conversation. But I think that's good. I know I'm known as the guy who likes grounded, gritty, ultra violence, but
but you don't want to see one of Tails' tails get ripped off.
No, I want material to... My whole thing is I want material to be what it's supposed to be, right? Like, what I don't like is something that should be grounded and gritty being sanitized. I'm not trying to add grit to a Sonic movie. I think these are really well calculated, tonally, once again, for kids. And that's the thing is, as a man in my mid-30s, I enjoy these movies. If I was 10, if these had come out when I was 10, these movies would be my life. Like I would have been upset. I would have had posters, figures, everything. I've owned no merch from these movies. I see all of them when they come out. I watched the Knuckles show when it came out, and I go, fun. But then I go about my life,
Sure. And that's, I think, the healthiest way to engage with like children's entertainment as a man in your 30s.
Of course, I just go like, hey, well, the thing about it is like I do recognize quality. I've seen enough kids entertainment to know like, because every once in a while something comes along. I remember we both adored Gravity Falls when it came out.
Oh, absolutely.
And I was like,
I was just talking it up last night.
I was so blown away by it. I'm like, God, is this a level of kids programming? And I went and watched a bunch of other Disney Channel shows and went, oh no. No, this is the real outlier. Because I just thought, like, man, have I been writing stuff off? And like, no, Gravity Falls is just exceptionally good. Like, every once in a while, somebody can come along and just make a thing. That, I think, is, tippy top of like, wow, that thing works truly. Once again, we talk about kids things and like all audience things. I think Sonic is more aimed at kids, but I think these are the kind of movies I get the sense where it's like, oh, I don't mind taking my kid to that.
Yeah.
Which is different than going to like a Minions movie or something like that.
Sure, I think that's a good comparison. You compare Sonic the Hedgehog to something like the Minions that is banana.
I taught one of my castmates in the Tesla City Stories. I remember talking to her about it, and she's just like,
"That's a show you should promote, John."
I should. Tesla City Stories. It's you can find it at teslacitystories.com, and we have a podcast that comes out every week with old time radio
episodes. Listen to that. John Campbell's on it.
I am on it. Yeah, frequently playing. It's much different than this. I play lots of different characters. But one of my cast members in it was talking, and she's got a kid who's maybe 10 or 11. And I just remember talking. I was like, "What'd you do?" And "What'd you do this week?" She's like, "I had to take him to Garfield." Like, and you could just feel she's like, "Oh,
the existential horror of Garfield."
Where you just go like that. There's no way in hell she would have wanted to see that. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I've never seen that, and I never will." And that was a couple years ago. Whenever that came out, I still haven't watched Garfield, and I probably won't.
Yeah, you're probably better for it.
Yeah.
Because that is, I think Garfield is a great example of the other side of this dark children's entertainment coin. Whereas there are two types of like kids entertainment that I engage with on a regular basis, and that is like the stuff that is fairly timeless, that like is the all ages thing, like a Gravity Falls or an Owl House or a Steven Universe. Stuff that is like good and like wholesome, but tells an emotionally impactful stories that resonate regardless of what.
I mean, I am a card carrying Pixar devotee. I'm there for every one of those, and I love those so much that there are times I'm like, why are there kids here? Oh, right. Because I'm so like, those are just, I'm just like that. That's just, I recognize great filmmaking when I see it.
I had that deeply when I went and saw Elio. I was just like getting all these references, and when Kate Mulgrew started talking about the Voyager spacecraft, I was like, this movie's talking to me. And then there was a kid talking 3 aisles over, and I was like, you're interrupting the Captain Janeway. Stop it.
Once again, that's when you're talking about the tippity top apex of like, those movies are just it's unbelievable what the people over at Pixar do, where you're just like, God, this is working. Not only is it working for everybody, it's working at the same level for all ages.
But to continue my point, there's that is one half of the children's entertainment spectrum. The other half is what I call it time fillers. It is the thing you can put your kid in front of a screen for X number of minutes. And 100%. It is colorful and loud, and maybe there's some good stuff in there. Maybe there are some entertaining jokes, and I'm sure the people making it are like doing their damnedest to make a good product, but they're not necessarily trying to create that level of emotional resonance. They just need to fill 23 minutes of color and sound.
I will say that sometimes, and look, I don't besmirched.
Maybe that might be like very cynical of me to say.
No, and what I'm about to say is even more cynical. So, but I'm saying like, but I mean, I see, like I said, when I see the trailers for like the Minions or those Sing movies, or Garfield, or I mean, to me, the ultimate example of this was the fucking Emoji movie, where you just go like, this does feel a little bit like, hey, we know some people who have computer software. We have an animation department. Let's just churn something out. And it does feel like, I feel like I can usually tell from a trailer how sincerely something's made. Now that's not a slam at the animation people, at the people actually animating it, because I believe, those are top artists who are working with what they're given. I'm talking more, that's like studio head producer, people are going like, you know what always sells? Cartoons. And that's always been the case. I mean, there were people who tried to imitate Looney Tunes and Disney back in the day, less successfully. I remember that when we were kids, there were rival studios to Disney and stuff that would try stuff. And even as a kid, you could be like, hey, this isn't as good. Like, I would watch all the cartoons and I could identify the ones that were like, ooh, I'm a kid and I can't explain why, but I'm not watching that one as much as I'm watching The Jungle Book or whatever,
I mean, I feel like you and I have had this conversation, God knows how long, but the constant like back and forth between DreamWorks and Pixar for a lot of our adolescence.
For sure.
It's just like, okay, the DreamWorks movies are maybe a little bit more like popcorn fun, and the Pixar movies are a little bit more resonant and meaningful.
And then every once in a while, you get a How to Train Your Dragon. You're like, what? Why'd you guys decide to do this really well? Okay.
Or The Wild Robot, and suddenly I'm in tears for a week.
Jesus, was that DreamWorks?
Yeah.
Oh, God, that was really good. Yeah. Jesus. Man. Yeah, that was fantastic. Yeah,
Wild Robot.
Wild Robot's amazing. That's one of the best animated movies. Yeah, every once in a while, they knock one out of the park. But for the most part, their stuff, the Illumination, who makes the Minions, that stuff I can't stand. Most DreamWorks movies I find watchable, but then I find them to be kind of what these Sonic movies are to some extent, where I'm like, hey, that was kind of fun and funny, and then I don't think about them again.
I guess that's my whole point with this whole tirade, is that the Sonic movies, to me, tilt ever so slightly into the more resonant category, but are way more in the noise to fill X minutes category. And I'll have fun, and they're of quality while I'm watching them, and Jim Carrey's a big part of that. But as soon as I'm done watching them, they are out of my brain.
I will say, though, I think they've gotten better, and I think the third one, which I'll talk about on another episode, obviously, though, I think pushes it a little bit more in quality. I think the third one is actually pretty well written. Once again, still in the spectrum of this. It's still not at like Pixar levels. But that was the only one I was surprised going like, hey, that was actually pretty good.
But today we're talking about Sonic 2.
Which I will say,
I came away from this movie being like, as we're having this discussion, you and I, John Campbell and Mike Gorgone, I have already forgotten large swaths of this film.
I think the thing I noticed about this one,
I think there's a dance off at some point. I don't remember the
There
context.
definitely is a dance off. They go into that like Norwegian village or like Icelandic village or wherever they're out in the snow.
I couldn't tell you.
And they do a dance off. And it's fun. It's cute.
I think they're speaking Russian at that point, so I don't know where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I don't know. They're in like Siberia or whatever. But I will say the thing about this one I noticed, and having seen all three of them and then going back to this one, this feels like the most action-y one. I mean, the third one has a lot of action, but it does feel like they were like, let's get some character work in there. This one feels like it's a lot about building to set pieces, and especially, I was surprised and had forgotten just how long the set piece at the end is. The battle against the giant Robotnik is like 25 minutes.
As soon as we enter the big temple under the ocean, there's still an hour left in the movie.
By the way, this is definitely the longest of the three Sonic movies.
Sure, this is clocking in a little over 2 hours.
Yeah, which is that's a lot for like a movie that's primarily aimed at children. Yeah, I mean it's still not it's a 2 hour 2 minute movie. which is a totally
It's an easy sit though. It's not like I was.
No,
like,
I didn't.
Trying...
I all of these are, all of
Not
these.
gonna lie, I
move.
did use the skip forward 10 seconds button a few times when we kept checking in with James Marsden.
Man, your hatred of Cyclops knows no better. No.
It's not. It's just I found all of his bits very frivolous. Like all of the stuff with the wedding is just absolutely nothing burger. There are some funny bits in there, but like all the cringe stuff where he's trying to steal the ring back, or like all of the stuff where he's feeling incompetent compared to the incredibly good-looking groom. Like it doesn't amount to anything. In the film.
but I do love Shamar Moore because I loved him in
fine.
Criminal Minds and as the leader of SWAT on CBS.
Sure. On SWAT, and he's incredibly handsome.
Yeah,
he's fun to look at. Don't get me wrong.
He's a charming,
a
charming man. I love that guy.
He's got a weirdly square goatee.
Yeah, I've always thought, how has he not been a comic book character? He looks like a comic book drawing.
Yeah, like look, I'm quickly losing hope that ever play Blade. Get this guy in there as Blade. Why not?
I always thought if you need a new. Bishop comes to mind, but also Steel, John Henry Irons.
There's some redemption that needs to happen with that character.
That's the thing. I want a new Steel.
A challenge that I don't know any actor can amount to.
I will say Shamar Moore has done the voice of Cyborg in a lot of the DC animated movies, which is cool. Anyway. Yeah, I mean that stuff is the most forgettable stuff. But it's all still adding up to this. Like everything is pretty zippy and borderline charming. That makes it not like that makes that 2 hours go by. And then then they do smart stuff in the final set piece where you have. You can cut to the inside of the robot and Jim Carrey is playing his leg like an electric guitar. And I'm sitting there going like, how is he getting his leg like? And that's incredible what that man can do.
And you got Lee Majdoub, is that how you say?
Yeah, we haven't talked about him actually. I think he is kind of a secret weapon of these movies.
He absolutely is, because like the sycophant toady character is always fun when you have a megalomaniacal bad guy.
And their dynamic is very funny, and it has. And I feel like in each of the three movies has given him a little bit more to do, because I think once again, I do think having the same people make these is you really do get the sense that this team is going, all right, we did this on the last one. What do we do on this next one? How do we increase that? What worked about that? Like the trajectory of this franchise is how most franchises should look at. It really does feel like they are trying to outdo themselves in the right way. Of just going like, oh, people like that about that last one. Let's put a little bit more in this one, because people really liked the sister character in the last one. So they're like, all right, well, let's find a thing for her to do, because that's a funny, dynamic. And I think it's you've got the dog that does even more stuff in the next one, because there's some funny stuff with the dog and Sonic here.
Sure.
It's all. I mean, I'm not losing my mind at the fart jokes, but 6-year-olds will.
Yeah, and look, the Ferris Bueller riff that like no 6-year-old's gonna understand that reference, but they will laugh when Sonic goes.
Yep, you got it. I mean, no kid is recognizing that they played the theme to the Robert Redford movie, The Natural, when Knuckles hits the baseball at the end of the movie. But I'm going,
John, no one but you got that reference.
Come on, it's a classic. Bum, 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 bum.
Nope.
Randy Newman's Natural theme. Amazing. Great movie. Great movie about baseball.
I'm sure it is. But is it Field of Dreams? That's the one everyone remembers.
Well, yeah, but Field of Dreams doesn't have... I mean, I will say, the Natural music is a thing you've heard in sports stuff.
Sure.
Even if you haven't seen them. It's just so often used to be like big emotional sports moment.
Okay. But no, I did not catch that.
Oh, man. When he hits the home run at the end and it hits the lights and they're exploding and he's running around the base with it. Everybody go watch The Natural. It's very good. You're not up on the filmography of one Robert Redford?
I've watched plenty of Robert Redford movies. I don't think I remember ever seeing his baseball film.
Oh, yeah. Well, your loss.
Now, talk about things that I do actively dislike. Baseball is much higher on that list than James Marsden.
Oh wow, not a baseball guy. That's one of the sports
It's so boring.
I love the ease of baseball. That's one of the things I think it's also the best movie sport. I think the more good movies have been made about baseball than any other sport. Write in below if you agree or disagree with me on that. But I think it's because I think there's a natural motion to it. Like you throw the ball, you hit the ball.
Boxing.
Well, yeah, boxing would be the other one because fighting is always just good on film. But like, there aren't many good football movies because I think football's kind of hard to capture on film in a way.
I mean, one of my favorite football movies stars Keanu Reeves. So
yes, The Replacements. I just was if you listen to I love a podcast called The Rewatchables, where they talk about movies that are intensely rewatchable, and they did an episode about that where the question was, is Shane Falco the greatest cinematic quarterback?
Short list.
Yeah, I'm like, you know what? I was like, oh, you know what? He might be. But yes, Sonic 2, it's fun. I mean, I will say for all of these are kind of shorter episodes because they're like, hey, these are pretty solid. And I will say, if we had more video game movies that had this vibe, that'd be great. Well,
because what this comes down to is this whole season, obviously, we've been talking about video game adaptations, and so many of them try to come at it with, we took our subject matter so seriously, and we are the biggest fans of this thing, and we're really doing this for the fans. And like, no one's coming at Sonic with that kind of high and mighty attitude. They're like, let's just have some fun with this. Like, we love the character, and there's a reason that when Ugly Sonic first premiered, everyone freaked out, and like they wisely went back and like, let's just make it look like the video game.
I mean, that was actually
reinvent the wheel here.
Talk about being very smart and endearing yourself to the fan base. Is like, man, we heard you, right? No, I will say, I think unfortunately that has created a thing where now people feel they are owed something if they don't like something, right? They're like, fix it like they did with Sonic. And you're just like, no. That time, collectively, the internet was correct about something. That doesn't mean
once.
Every little nitpick you have means they need to go back to the drawing board, you know? It's actually having, I don't know how much you know about Jeff Fowler, who directs these. He is he is pretty diehard about these characters and very protective of them, and has worked on stuff with particularly Shadow when we get to that movie.
Is he coming back for the fourth one?
I believe so. I believe that's the plan. It seems like these are like he lives to make Sonic movies specifically.
That's actually also another wild part about this, because as of Sonic 2, we can officially say that, like, hey, this is a franchise now. Like, and to have an adaptation franchise that is sort of had a singular creative voice around it, or at least like the same triumvirate of creative voices around it.
Yeah, like
that's a rare
there's
thing.
A team. It is a rare thing, and it, like I said, the thing I like about that is you do get the sense that they are analyzing what they've done, thinking about what they're doing, laying seeds for stuff. There, you get a consistency of a thing. And I will say that, regardless if you like these movies, there is a consistent tone and vibe to them. And it does feel like each movie builds on the one before it. Enough. Once again, I'm always just going like, because people are going like, Jesus, this guy's really talking. I'm not talking that grandly about these movies, but like, hey, they are doing way more than most things in this similar genre. And having watched all these video game movies this season, these are a cut above like 90% of them.
I will say the point of comparison that we're not going to have this season, because of the format we chose to do the list of films that were done this season, we're not doing the Super Mario Brothers animated movie.
Yeah, because that opened up the can of worms that is animated stuff, and so that I was like, should I do that one and just that one? But then I thought it's just cleaner if I just do only live action ones.
Sure, but it does beg the question of, when it comes to the more like all ages, child friendly video game adaptations like your Sonic the Hedgehog, because a lot of the adaptations we're talking about are more adult oriented.
Yes.
Like these ain't your kiddies video games that we're
Well,
adapting.
I mean,
here.
it makes sense because the idea there being, right, well, adults are the ones with money who will go to those movies. Although maybe
Sure.
that's actually a faulty thinking.
But the big comparison that we're going to run into with this movie, I think this season, is going to be with the Minecraft film.
Yes.
In terms of like, this is one that is clearly geared towards kids. Everyone else can like maybe be a bit more all ages, maybe a bit more accessible to your PG-13 audiences, but like Sonic and Minecraft are for the children. And
in
so
the case of Minecraft, really because it's so much newer, this at least has the nostalgia for people our age, right?
sure, yeah. But it begs the question of like, are those particular types of movies for kids better served as animated features like Mario? Is live action like what is the benefit of making them live action over an animated feature?
And I think that one of the things I like about these movies, and especially as they've gone on, is they do sort of feel like hybrids, right? Because especially, I mean, these are animated characters that are taking front and center. And when you look at the posters, you know, it's pretty much animated characters and Jim Carrey on them, right? Like it's
That's why I compared it to a Muppet movie.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about it. It does feel like that, and I do think, you know, there is something interesting about seeing those characters in live action, as it were, right? Like them in real environments and stuff. That's kind of cool, and they've really chosen that, right, as the genre. I think you could have gone a different direction with the Sonic movies and gone more animated, but they've chosen this fish out of water, this idea about them existing in the world. The other thing I think that these have gotten more into, and this one I think starts and the next one continues it even more, is smartly they're looking at what works about superhero movies. They like the Sonic games aren't. He's not really a superhero. He can be, but in
I mean, the plot, quote unquote, of the first game is a bunch of animals get kidnapped by Robotnik, and Sonic goes and saves them.
He does, but it's all.
He's a hero.
He's a hero, but the idea of like, you know, borrowing when you're turning into a narrative, the idea of sort of borrowing comic book superhero structure on this, I think is another thing that really works about this. They are looking at what Marvel's doing and stuff like that. I mean, in this movie, he expressly is trying to be a superhero, is part of the plot.
But why build that in live action as opposed to animation? Because animation just gives you such a freer hand to have these like big, loud, expressive characters and not have them juxtaposed against the constraints of the quote-unquote real world. So like, I mean, is the only reason you do that is so you can have the like slow approach of the first movie and like temper your expectations of what these movies can accomplish?
I mean, I think possibly there is certainly an attitude of like, oh, this is live action. Okay, you know, I think to some section of the audience, there's sort of a thing about like, oh, this is a little bit more serious then.
But then you have the Minecraft movie, which feels almost on the exact opposite axis of that. Is you have these live action characters.
It is the inverse,
in an almost completely animated world.
Yeah. Which I that's the part of the thing where I'm going like that might be. I haven't watched that movie. We're going to talk about that movie in a couple weeks. So I don't know, but I will say that loses me a little bit at that point where I am going like, all right, if this is just people walking around a green screen soundstage, like why am I watching it? Why not just go all the way to animation at that point? That I understand less than the idea of animated creatures in the real world.
But why is that?
I don't know. I mean, it's just a feeling. There's something. Because
I'm not looking for an answer necessarily.
I will say because the idea about like there is something real about that, and so it's like, okay, I understand the idea of taking animation and wanting to go real, but the idea of taking real and then making it artificial around it, just I don't like as much. Like I said, I don't.
But we praise something like Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, because that's to me like a genius hybrid of putting a thing in a real world. I don't like when a movie feels real to me, where a wholly animated movie will feel real to me because everything feels of a piece. And then animated things in a real setting can feel real to me because there's a physical space to it. The second you lose the physical space, but you still have people interacting with it, that's when it can get weird to me, because then it feels false. It feels like, I know you're just in a big box.
It's why seeing in the Avatar films, when you see the humans interacting with Pandora, it feels kind of off.
Right.
As soon as they get their big blue cat people bodies, and everything is part of this animated
it all
pastiche,
feels of a whole. Yeah. It all feels of a whole.
Okay.
So I think that's what it is. It's I'm trying to put words to just a psychological
verisimilitude.
Verisimilitude, yeah.
Verisimilitude, where everything kind of feels of a piece.
Yeah, that's what I like in it. Once again, I'm saying that in concept. I haven't watched Minecraft, so I'm not leveling that against it as a criticism because I haven't watched it yet. But I will say, the other thing, I have no relationship with Minecraft, so that's the other reason I didn't see it. Is I just beyond knowing the basic aesthetics of it, because it's unavoidable as a pop culture thing, I just have no, I like
play Minecraft, John. It's a good game.
I'm all right. It's not really the kind of thing I look for in a game. As
a Legos kid, it was a natural extension of what I wanted.
But once again, I like the Legos because I'm physically interacting. It's a tactile thing. Anyway, especially because they have the Star Trek license now, and they're about to take all my money.
Oh boy, hey, you're talking about the guy who was eyeballing first $1,000 set they announced that was the Death Star.
Yeah, that thing is.
And you
already have a Death Star.
Yeah, we're not on. I don't think the YouTube version of this doesn't have like our faces.
No, it
right?
doesn't. No.
Okay, so like the viewers at home can't see me tilt my camera up to the Death Star that is directly above my head.
Oh, I remember the days you spent building it. So yeah.
But this new $1,000 set is actually like more of a cross section. It's not an actual full sphere.
I've seen it. It is quite the achievement. There's whole scenes going on in it.
But my Death Star has that too, and it's like twice the size, and it's half the cost. What I'm saying is this new Death Star set is a ripoff.
Oh, okay.
But the Enterprise set that they announced looks fucking gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, this is Mike's Lego corner.
Yeah. It makes sense. I mean, it's in the same boat.
You got the Lego chrysanthemum right over my left shoulder here.
Mm-hmm. And I did like the little.
I love the botanical sets.
I did love the little video they released of Lego Picard beaming in.
Very good.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about how this did at the box office. The answer
very well.
Yeah, I was gonna say the answer may surprise you. It did well. No.
Well, and this is actually a movie that gets released at an interesting time because this is 2022. This is just post-pandemic. We're sort of coming out of the lockdown death of theaters.
This is the first since 2019. This is the first like full year at the movies.
Mm-hmm. No, this is my beloved Godzilla vs. Kong saved cinema, John.
I think like 8 movies were supposedly saved cinema that year. So Sonic takes in worldwide $405.4 million.
Does all right. Yeah.
That does all right. Where do you think that? Well, I'll give you the top 5. It's not in the top 5.
Yeah, I didn't think it was.
No surprise here. Avatar: The Way of Water, the aforementioned Avatar, made $2.3 billion.
Still never seen that movie, huh?
No interest, and I'm not going to go to the next one. Once again,
but there's fire people now.
I know. Finally, the fire is here. Something I saw.
Everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked.
It will not surprise you that I saw the second highest grossing movie of the year multiple times at the theater, which is Top Gun Maverick, which made $1.4 billion. Sorry, not million would be a disaster. Number 3 was Jurassic World Dominion. That also made $1 billion. Just a skosh under $1 billion in 4th place is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which I also saw multiple times, of course. So good. When people talk shit about the last phases of Marvel, I'm like, do you guys remember Multiverse of Madness? Because it rules.
Or Shang-Chi.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many good ones. And also, Multiverse of Madness, it didn't make $1 billion, but it made $955 million. That's pretty good, Did
all right.
Still, yeah. And then, of course, in 5th place, once again, as we're talking about, Minions: The Rise of Gru.
Sure. I'm gonna say.
Where do you think
this
Sonic landed?
movie, I think this is like at a solid. Did it break into the top 10? That's my question I'm asking myself. I'm gonna say 11. I'm hedging my bets on this one.
14th.
14. Damn it.
Just above Black Adam and just below previous episode Uncharted.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Which I think is also a decent enough video game movie.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
That
was
that
the
movie
consensus
suffers
of
from
that
being an
episode.
Ouroboros.
That's a gentleman's six movie to me in the parlance of blank check. I can totally throw that on and be entertained and then once again go about my life. But it's totally fun.
But it inherently invites the question of, why are you watching this instead of Indiana Jones?
I mean, go back and listen to the episode that Brendan Jones and I did about, and that was sort of our thing. It's the same thing about the Tomb Raider movies. They're all just like, well, these are good, but they just remind you how great the Indiana Jones movies are.
Right.
Yeah, where you're just like, that is such an interesting genre, the like high adventure movie, where like I can't think of many other genres where like a singular franchise just dominates all. Where it's just like, nah, it's good, but it's not indie good. None of them are. It's so crazy to me. Anyway, Indiana Jones comes up a lot on here. Well, because once again, that's how you can't talk about that genre without bringing like, yeah, but Indiana Jones, a genre it didn't invent, like.
No, but it became the archetype of.
Yes, absolutely. All right, let's leave here with some highs and lows, as always. What crazy people are talking this week?
I'm guessing the highs are going to be like, this is nostalgia made manifest. My childhood sat in the theater next to me and nodded in solemn approval. Or my kids love this movie.
Okay, this comes to us from Ranium. I don't know.
It's the first one.
And the title is Sonic is back with new characters, major plot twists, mind-blowing adventures, and tons of laughs. That's the title. The wild fun and adventurous blue hedgehog we all love, Sonic, a.k.a. Blue Justice, is back in his new movie, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. The film has new character appearances, major plot twists, mind-blowing adventures, and tons of laughs throughout it. It's great that this sequel is one of those movies you can enjoy without seeing the original. However, since it refers to different scenes from the first movie, you may want to watch the original first. I love
a sequel that disregards its source.
I also love the idea of the sentence that's like, what's great about this is you don't have to watch the first one. However, it would greatly behoove you to watch the first one. They instantly contradicted themselves. The main characters are Sonic, Dr. Robotnik, Tails, and Knuckles. I love how this film introduces characters from the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, and they just fit in seamlessly. One of the voice actors who surprised me is Idris Elba. He normally sucks. Now, his voice is the perfect match to portray Knuckles' strong and confident personality. My favorite part is when Tom and Maddie are at Rachel's wedding and need to open a portal for Sonic. Tom realizes he may have mistaken. Literally a scene you said you didn't care for is this person's favorite scene. Where is this? Tom realizes he may have mistaken the wedding ring for one of Sonic's gold rings. It adds some hilarious...
This review is just describing the movie. Stop.
It adds some hilarious adventure to the wedding. Kudos to Junkie XL for keeping an old school feel through the film with songs such as It's Tricky. Sorry.
You can't credit the composer for needle drops.
No. And actually, to that point, I think the score in all of these is pretty good. And I like the way that they weave in some of the, Sega
is it all
game.
Junkie XL?
I actually didn't. I had forgotten this one was Junkie XL, so I don't know if he does all of them.
I am so hit or miss on their scores.
I mostly like Junkie XL scores, I would say, for the most part.
I actually just mentioned Godzilla vs. Kong, but I think their score is one of the worst parts of that movie.
Interesting. I don't think
film.
No, I did see that one. I didn't see the one after it.
It's tough to follow up Bear McCreary, though.
Sure. Anyway, this film sheds light on the importance of having a family and friends in your life. They will always have your back and keep you on the right path in life. Sonic and the other characters experience different obstacles that teach them the true definition of family, even if they start as friends. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is out of this world. I rate it 5 out of 5, or 10 out of 10 as the case is for this, and recommend it for kids ages 8 to 18 plus adults. The Battle of the Gem takes place in theater. Oh, be sure to stay after the movie, after the credits for the movies. Anyway, they loved it. 10 out of 10 stars.
Because Shadow.
Yes, this of course does. Anyway. All right.
This movie teases Shadow the Hedgehog, who in fact does show up in the third movie.
Whoa. He does, yeah. They set up something to pay it off. All right. Here we go. Strap in.
Okay. This one is going to be about how this movie has disemboweled my childhood. It laid bleeding on the floor in front of me in the theater. Its intestines cooling as I slowly but surely withered away as the onset of time destroyed my concept of what is good and right.
All right, here we go. This is a wild one. Brendan would get upset at how long this one is, but I have to.
I'm probably going to get upset at how long it is.
All right, this comes to us from, speaking of, Lego 60865. Who oh god, I mean, this almost feels like I'm making up this title, but it really is. No real Sonic fan would like this movie.
Oh god.
I said, buckle up. Yesterday, I watched this movie with two of my friends, knowing how bad the first movie was. We decided to why go then? We decided to go with no expectations and just laugh at how cringeworthy it is. And up to a point, it was just ridiculous. Then it became utterly offensive to Sonic fans and people in general. I don't know where to start. And after
it is offensive to humankind.
I don't know where to start. And after I have to write about every single thing that was horrible in the movie, I would have to copy and paste all of the movie script here because everything was terrible. First of all, the plot was a complete mess. It started in the first movie with the absurd idea of Sonic being brought up by a bird. He would never. That cartoon hedgehog was never raised by birds. Ridiculous.
That anthropomorphic thing that can run the speed of sound couldn't have been raised by a bird. Birds have wings, not hands. How could they hug?
But continued with the cringeworthy scenario of the blue hedgehog being adopted by a human police officer and his wife, which progressed with them teaching him how to be a good kid and him acting like a moody teenager. This slowly got worse up until the end when the couple called Sonic their son and Sonic called the officer Dad. Do I need to explain what's wrong with this? My answer, yes, you do. I don't really understand what's wrong with that. It was kind of nice.
The emotional arc of the film.
It worked well enough. I mean, I wasn't like crying, but I was like, oh, that's sweet. And how? Anyway. I don't think so. Do I need to explain why it's worse? I don't think so. Is the response this person writes. In the end, they adopted Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. Can you imagine Knuckles the fighter being an adopted kid of a human family? And what is more, a typical American family driving their 3 kids in their van and playing baseball? It was so cringeworthy! As Murphy's Law claims. Oh, you gotta love a paragraph that starts with, as Murphy's Law claims. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. In this movie, everything went wrong. Even the things that were impossible to go wrong somehow did. Just like the first movie, they didn't even get Sonic's superpower right, giving him electric powers. But now with 2 extra characters, the plot was completely wrong. All the facts were mistaken.
Sonic run fast. What the fuck is this guy talking about?
And there were more Marvel and other pop culture references than Sonic references in the movie. For real, you could change Sonic with any other cartoon character in the movie, it'd be the same. I can't believe how many mistakes they made. I just love mistakes. It's like they looked at some random pictures and chose random Wikipedia facts, and boom, we're ready to write the script. For example, they read something about the Chaos Emeralds and Knuckles and decide to include it without even reading further. That's why they messed up Knuckles' whole story and the concept of the Chaos Emeralds in general. They made up this stupid illogical backstory about them and didn't even get the right size of the Master Emerald, making it possible to fit in an ice cooler box.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much more of this is there, John?
There's a fair amount. All right, let me give you the bullet points. It continues to be they're just like, Knuckles asks, does ice cream have grapes? They clearly just read a Wikipedia personality, but it doesn't, or they read a Wikipedia thing about him liking grapes, but they don't get his personality right. They messed up the soundtrack as well. He's upset that the third one's going to be about Shadow because he knows they're going to fuck up Shadow. It just continues on. So many factual mistakes. I love the idea of treating Sonic lore as fact, and they're making mistakes with these facts.
Because everything written on Wikipedia pages is fact.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah.
I'm sorry, that one broke me.
I will just read
the size of the Chaos Emerald.
That was the anyway. I will say, I will end with this. Why try to create a real masterpiece with the same depth as the games, which will always be valued for their deep themes and psychological moments? That would have required hard work and a lot of thinking. It's much easier to neglect true Sonic fans and make a silly cartoon for kids 1 out of 10 stars.
Okay, no, this person is a troll. This isn't real, John.
You don't think so?
This person
I don't know,
is trying to get a rise out of me, and it worked.
The deep psychological, conviction of the Sonic characters?
No.
Who is Knuckles? What is his pain?
How dare you?
True masterpiece.
No.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but no.
There
are Sonic games that have told some okay stories.
Yeah.
And there is a couple of them out there that have moments of pathos, but even the best Sonic games like Sonic Generations or like I have some deep nostalgia and love for Sonic Adventure Battle 2. I played the crap out of that on the GameCube.
Yeah.
But boy howdy, Crush 33 is not scoring the deep pathological like emotional ride of Shadow the Hedgehog that you think is there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing I think that you think is there. Because, to have that level of attachment to it, you do have to bring a lot to it, right? You'd have to be inferring a lot from a little.
I mean, look, that is the sort of opinion that I would expect from someone who takes the Sonic comic books very, very seriously as the Sonic canon, and then would turn around and look at the video games as B-tier Sonic storytelling. But this sounds like they've conflated the stories that they're telling in the comics into what exists in the games, and that's just not true.
No, absolutely not. It's real. I mean, I mean, I can't say I've come close to playing every Sonic game by any stretch of the imagination, but I've never played anything with anything I would consider real depth, even if it does have more narrative. When you get into psychological complexity, they really are, at the end of the day, little cartoon animals that run real fast.
The most story-driven Sonic game that I can point to in the last 10 years is the one where he turns into a freaking were-hedgehog and is fighting medieval knights.
Yeah.
And that's terrible. That's a bad game.
Yeah. No, yeah, they don't play that. I just think, I've that, but it just...
Sonic Colors is a good one. Sonic Generations is a good one.
I mean, I like the ones that just try to harken back to what worked about the original games,
those are the two I just
that's what I'm saying. It's I like those ones where it's the fun is he runs real fast, and that's cool. That's a fun thing to play as. It is fun to control a thing that runs real fast, and he can be quippy and charming, But it is sort of thing the complexity of Knuckles is. He's grumpy. He's the grumpy one. And Sonic is snarky.
And Tails does machines.
Yeah, and Tails does machines. And Shadow's the dark one. He's Sonic with a gun.
Shadow's cool but rude. We know this.
And Sonic's a party dude.
And Sonic's a party dude.
Yeah, it's all there. Yeah. Well, that to a certain extent, that you could get. It is an interesting thing because the thing I liked about that review, in terms of why I chose to read it, not that I like about the review itself, but is you could pick anything, and there will be someone that will write something like that. Any adaptation of any multimedia property, there will always be somebody who's like, you've missed the entire core of this thing. I can't believe this. And it would be something like the size of the mask on someone's face ends the entire. Do you even know what this is?
You could replace the proper nouns in that review, slap it onto something like TMNT Mutant Mayhem.
Yep.
And I'm sure it would read almost
I
exactly.
guarantee you there's at least a couple 1-star reviews of that movie that are like, you've destroyed the complexity that Eastman and Laird built in the original comics, you know?
Mondo Gecko would never.
Hashtag not my Mondo Gecko. Paul Rudd can go fuck himself. All right. Well, that's Sonic.
Size of a Chaos Emerald. Let's wrap this up.
It should never be able to fit in an icebox, Gorgone. Any true Sonic fan would know that. I bet he's real upset because in the third movie, Adam Pally is playing hockey with it at one point.
Good.
This guy must have just flipped out. The fuck! Anyway, there you go. That's Sonic. I just want to click on one thing. I'm going to click on this guy, and I'm not
something Patreon, something YouTube.
Yeah,
Got
yeah.
it.
Okay, I just wanted to see, did he write a review of the third movie? He did not. Okay, I was like, is this guy just going to keep going back?
No, John, because the third movie killed him.
That's true. They had to remove his corpse from the theater after. He died of outrage, fatal outrage. It's bad for the heart. All right. Yes. The aforementioned patron is patreon.com/punchup and get cool exclusive bonus content from us and all the shows on the Punch Up Entertainment Network. And of course, where else can people check us out, Gorgone?
youtube.com/@punchupentertainment. Like I mentioned earlier, you can watch some of our videos, have our beautiful faces, and you can see me occasionally pan up to a large Lego Death Star.
Yeah, and there's more. 2026 is going to be a big year for our video content, so make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on there. Ring that bell for notifications because you do not want to miss a single episode of anything we do.
Let us know in the comments below. What is the movie that would kill you with indignity?
I will say I have not watched Star Trek Section 31 because
might be the one for you.
I do not think I could handle it based on what I've read. So I choose to just avoid it.
And like that, you're a healthy human, John.
That's the thing. This guy went back for seconds.
Yeah.
That would be like if I watched Star Trek Section 31 and then they made a sequel for insane reasons what they wouldn't do. And then I was like, yeah, let's load it up again.
Remember, everyone, if there's something you don't like, you can just not watch it.
That's the best choice is not to watch a thing. Yeah, I can't even express how easy it is to not watch things. There's so much stuff I just don't watch, either because I'm mad about it or because I just don't care. I don't need to have an opinion about everything. Yeah. Next week on the show, speaking of things I don't care about at all, and will bring nothing to the table on, Five Nights at Freddy's. I know zero. I mean, I know some, but almost nothing about it. The Five Nights at Freddy's movie will be next week on the show.
The number 5 comes after 4.
Oh,
so
yeah. Yes.
After the 4th night, there's a 5th night.
Yeah.
And Freddy is a bear, I think.
Is he the bear? Once again, it's another thing where I, just through any pop culture sort of osmosis of that, right? I know what each of the designs of the characters looks like. I think Freddy is the bear.
Disingenuous. Freddy Fazbear is the theme mascot of a certain chain of children's entertainment, a la Chuck E. Cheese.
Yes.
And yes.
I liked it better when it was called Willy's Wonderland.
There you go. Well,
I really enjoyed the hell out of that movie. Because
you have fun. You know me. Look, I'm
too
gonna
scared.
Dip in and out of this
Wait
season,
a minute.
but this
Five
one's
Nights
a
at
scary one.
Five Nights at I can't imagine Five Nights at Gorgone's up late at night because Five Nights at Freddy's.
No, thank you, John. I'm good.
But no, of course, Elliot Lewis will be joining me for that because though they don't know anything about it either, they are a resident horror person, and someone has to talk about it with me.
I am sure they're going to get on a Wikipedia page themselves,
yeah.
And y'all can figure this out together.
Well, go back and listen to any of our Silent Hell episodes, which is that, and then me going, well, I didn't know any of that. All right, then. Or like, oh, now that scene makes sense. All right, well, that's going to do it. Until next week, the case file is closed.